If you're wondering what your 2-month-old baby should be doing, stick around because in this video, I'm going to be breaking down your 2-month-old baby's developmental milestones. Hey, beautiful mama, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Nicole. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I'm a certified lactation counselor, as well as a conscious parenting coach. And this channel is just geared to help make motherhood easier on you. So if you know that that is something you're into, you're like, sign me up, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. That way you don't miss any of my videos. So before we dive into the developmental milestones of a 2-month-old, there's a couple of things I want to let you know. First is in the description box below, I have linked my free developmental milestone chart for you. It's going to list all of your baby's developmental milestones up to age 1. So this is great because you can print it out, just put it on the fridge and periodically glance at it just to make sure your baby is on track. The second thing I want to point out is that I have a playlist full of developmental videos. So as your baby grows, you can follow along with my videos in the playlist. That way you can see for yourself what development looks like at each stage. Final thing I want to touch on is that every baby is going to develop at a different pace. So this is just a general rule of thumb. This is where most babies are by the age of 2 months. Some babies may take a little bit longer, or maybe your baby is on the other side of the curve and is doing things earlier. It is all gravy. But of course, if you ever have any questions or concerns, you should not hesitate to reach out to your little one's medical team. All right, my friends, let's get into it. So the first helpful thing I want to share with you guys is that we look at development in 5 major categories. Those categories are fine motor skills, gross motor skills, language skills, cognitive skills, and social emotional skills. So when it comes to social emotional skills, your 2-month-old is beginning to smile at people. So mom, dad, familiar faces, you're probably noticing that your little one lights up when he or she sees a familiar face. So the next thing you're likely noticing is that your baby is beginning to soothe him or herself. So maybe they're bringing their hands to their mouth and sucking on it for short periods of time to help calm themselves. And finally, you're probably noticing that your little one is looking around a lot more. So looking for familiar faces. I hear mom or dad's voice across the room. You'll notice that their head and their eyes are turning to meet the sounds that they are hearing in their environment. So the next category we're going to tackle is language skills. So the big thing that's happening around 2 months of age is you're probably noticing that your baby is starting to coo, making those super cute sounds and just vocalizing much more. And if your little one is on the early end, you might even hear bits of laughter starting to peek in around 2 months of age. And on the receptive language end, we are starting to see, as I mentioned prior, that your little one is really trying to locate sounds. So they're hearing you speak, they're hearing noise in the background, and they're starting to really engage by focusing in on things that you're saying or listening for familiar voices. All right, so the next category is cognitive skills. So at 2 months of age, you're noticing that your baby's really paying attention to your face. When you're speaking, when you're making noises, they are studying you and maybe even starting to respond by making their own noises, right? So they're taking it all in. And again, some of these points are going to overlap. So another big thing that's happening, as I mentioned prior, is they are starting to focus or listen in on conversations around them, right? It's pinging them like, wow, there's something going on in my environment. I'm interested in it. And they're turning to look for those familiar faces, those familiar voices. And lastly, you're probably noticing that around 2 months of age, your little one will start to become bored with activities after a while. So maybe you place your baby in a play gym and after a few minutes, they're bored with the activity that they're doing. So they may start to fuss. They might start to cry. They have that attention span for different activities and they do become bored if we're not switching up the activities or the things that they're engaged with. Okay, so when it comes to our fine and gross motor skills, so their movement development, their physical development, you might start to notice that around 2 months of age, they're gaining some head and neck control. So maybe they're able to hold their head upright for a short period of time, right? They're able to balance it and you're not having to support their head and their neck as much. And the next big thing that's happening in this category around 2 months of age is you start to notice that your baby's movements are becoming less jerky and a bit more coordinated and a bit more fluid. So maybe the arm swings are more fluid instead of jagged and just all over the place. They're beginning to gain a little bit more coordination and fluidity in their legs and their arm movements. So a couple of red flags you should be aware of at this age. Again, this is something that might prompt you to have a conversation with your pediatrician, is if you notice that your little one is not smiling at people, if they're not able to lift their head while in tummy time, if you notice that your baby is unable to track moving objects. So if you were to put something in front of them and move, say, a rattle or a toy, you should see that they're following with their eyes or their head, or if your little one is not responding to loud noises. All right, mamas, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, be sure to click on your free developmental milestone chart below. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Otherwise, I will catch you in the very next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.